Good morning, America. This is the Cats Roundtable, and it's Sunday morning. All the news that's going on in the world, and there's a lot of things going on in the world, a lot of things going on in Asia. With us this morning is Dr. Bill Parker, Chief of Staff of Naval Surface Forces. Dr. Parker is the Chief Operating Officer of the East-West Institute. Good morning, Dr. Parker. How are you this morning?
Good morning, John. Good to be back on your show. Doing great.
You were with us a few months ago, and you were on your way to Korea. And can you give us an update of what happened in Korea?
Sure. We can start with Korea. It's very interesting times for sure. Number one is that the nuclear weapons are still there, and they continue to get more capable every day. On the other side, there are talks going on between the North and the South. And you're seeing what's going on with the Olympics to have at least some joint Olympic team, I believe the women's ice hockey team. But the reality is those weapons are still there.
Now, do you feel H.R. McMaster's felt that this might be a diversion from other things?
I absolutely believe this is a diversion. It's an attempted diversion, I will say. I don't think anybody is actually taking their eye off the ball now. I mean, we just can't kick this can down the road any more than we already have. They have that capability. We can get into more detail on that, but the bottom line is it's time to approach this issue.
Over the last year or so, North Korea has fired many different types of missiles. Are they really, really capable of hitting the U.S.?
I believe they are. To start off with, I will tell you that when you look at their capability, their nuclear capability, we believe they have about 60 nuclear weapons right now, 60, and that they have enough uranium to produce about 6 more nuclear weapons a year. So that's pretty significant. In addition to that, they also have recently tested an H-bomb, which has more significance. As far as range goes, they now have the capability to reach out to everywhere except for Latin America and Antarctica based on the Haslong 14 missile.
Wow. What are your thoughts? Do you think President Trump being very, very tough on North Korea is off base, or you think he's doing what he's supposed to do?
I think we're at a point in our evolution here now where something has to be done. We have, like I said, kicked this can down the road for the last 30, 40 years, and their capability has increased dramatically, and it's now to the point where they can reach out and touch their enemies or potential enemies. And so something has to be done. Obviously, we want to start with all of the instruments of national power and use the military as the last option, but I think it's on the table for sure.
Now, there's been reports that the U.S. Navy continues to add its assets in that area, more ships, and also that China has been increasing troop strength along the North Korean border. What can you tell us about that?
Those are both true statements. The Chinese are clearly concerned about any kind of combat operations that would result in large numbers of refugees going from North Korea into China. At the same time, the United States will be ready to fight when they need to be ready to fight. Of significance is when you get to 3 carrier strike groups off of a coast, it means that you can now do 24-hour bombing almost as long as you want to. So they've moved 3 carrier strike groups there. They have significant assets off the coast now. So we're getting to the point where it is either going to deter North Korea and get to the point where they will actually back off and turn over those nuclear weapons. I don't think that'll happen. Or we will have all the assets in place to take what action is needed militarily if nothing else works.
Will it be a surprise to China if we did something, or do you think that our military forces are in touch or in discussions with the Chinese military forces?
The United States is actually doing a very good job of communicating with the Chinese, with the Russians, with the South Koreans, with the Japanese, those countries in particular, as we work towards hopefully something that will resolve this issue without going into combat operations. But there are very high-level talks that are going on right now between all of the countries. And it is, I think, everybody's hope that this can be resolved without going into combat operations.
Does China realize that, we've reached the end of our patience?
I think China realizes that if we do nothing, they result in a nuclear South Korea, a nuclear Japan, potentially a nuclear Taiwan, and then Iran sees that Korea gets away with it, and therefore you have a nuclear Gulf. They also realize that if they do nothing and combat operations start, they will have a significant impact on their economy because over 90% of all of their goods and services go by sea. And that will be dramatically impacted, even if you don't have any type of nuclear exchange, just by the impact of combat operations in the environment. Plus, you have to look at the winds. And when they look at the winds and realize the prevailing winds, depending on the time of year, either run southeast or northwest, it means that any kind of fallout is going to either blow into China or blow into South Korea. And these are all things that they realize. They also realize the impact of microchips, et cetera, that are mostly built in South Korea will directly impact the economy of China as well.
Now, are the Russians, where do the Russians stand? They're not helping us with North Korea. Are they helping North Korea, or where is the Russian stand in all this?
Well, it's really interesting. There are people that say that the Russians actually built their program. I don't necessarily buy off into that, but you have to remember that their nuclear program did start in the Soviet era with the construction of a nuclear reactor in Yongbyon, and that was in 1965. So that led to the first successful nuclear test, which was later carried out in 2006. So North Korea does have some relationship with the former Soviet Union that way. I do not believe that either China or Russia are directly helping North Korea in their nuclear weapons program. I don't think it's any value to either one of those countries. But I also think that China in particular is concerned about losing the geographic buffer that is now North Korea, that serves as that geographic buffer between South Korea and China. I think Russia would like to do anything they could to keep the United States from coming closer to their border yet again by somehow being involved in North Korea.
Dr. Parker, last question. What do you think Kim Jong-un's end game is?
I think Kim Jong-un's game is one thing and one thing only, and that is to remain in power. He's a brutal dictator. He is killing his own royal family, if you will, by killing relatives because he wants to stay in power, and I think he will continue to do that. But at the end of the day, it's all about him staying in power, and whatever actions he thinks are necessary to do that, he will do.
Well, Dr. Parker, thank you for filling in all Americans on what's going on, and keep us informed, and thank you for everything you do for our country.
John, it was great talking to you as always, and you have a great show. I look forward to continuing to listen.
Thank you. This is the Cats Roundtable. We'll be right back.